Type 1. I hope you remember what it is, that is multiple choice questions. I need all your attention towards me now and the text which I am going to read. I'll be reading the questions first and compare it with the text, and I'm going to explain you how to find out the answers. Questions 27 to 29. Choose the correct letter A, B, C or D. Write your answer in boxes 27 to 29 on your answer sheet. As I explained already when I was giving the introduction to IELTS academic writing, you first just read the questions and then go to the paragraph or passage so that you have a purpose of reading. Instead of just reading and wasting your time, if you just give a glance to the questions and then go to the passage, you get a purpose to read. That means to find out the answer. This is time conserving. Alright, let's read the question now. 27. In the first paragraph, the writer makes the point that blind people A. may be interested in studying art, B. can draw outlines of different objects and surfaces, C. can recognize conventions such as perspective, and D. can draw accurately. The writer was surprised because the blind woman A. drew a circle on her own initiative, B. did not understand what a wheel looked like, C. included a symbol representing movement, and D. was the first person to use lines of motion. From the experiment described in part 1, the writer found that blind subjects A. had good understanding of symbols representing movement, B. could control the movement of wheels very accurately, C. worked together well as a group in solving problems, and D. got better results than the cited undergraduates. Now let's find out the answer now. Just refresh your minds now. When I've given the introduction, I've explained about few skills to develop your reading. That means you need to use the skills of skimming and scanning, then read for detail. Now we are going to find out the answer for question number 27. That is, the first paragraph. The question itself says that in the first paragraph, the writer makes the point that blind people. So you are going to get the answer for it in the first paragraph itself. Don't go anywhere. And when I explained how to find out or how to make out an overall concept of any paragraph, the topic sentence, it may come either in the first sentence or just near to the beginning of the paragraph or at the end of the paragraph. Let's see what's there in the passage now. Look at this reading passage. You should spend about 20 minutes on questions 27 to 40. Just giving you an example. Whenever you get one passage, it contains roughly 13 to 14 questions, and each passage you need to spend 20 minutes. It's not a rule everything you need to exactly spend 20 minutes, but if you divide like this, you can finish the task exactly on time. That means all the 3 passages in 1 hour. Alright, let's read the first paragraph now. Part 1. Visual symbols and the blind. That's the topic of the passage. From a number of recent studies, it has become clear that blind people can appreciate the use of outlines and perspectives to describe the arrangement of objects and other surfaces in space. Hope you got the answer in first sentence itself. Just take the keyword perspectives. Come to the options once again if you are unable to make out the answer. See, one particular keyword, exactly it will be present in that particular sentence. Here, just look at all the options. Take A, B, C and D. It is a beginning. You can take some time. Don't be too much time conscious. First try to locate the exact answer. Later on you can just practice by reading very fast. A may be interested in studying art. It is not stated like that. Can draw outlines of different objects and surfaces. No. Can recognize conventions such as perspective. Take the word perspective as a keyword. Here once again read the sentence, the first sentence. From a number of recent studies, it has become clear that blind people can appreciate the use of outlines and perspectives to describe the arrangements of objects and other surfaces in space. So if you can make out the overall meaning of this sentence, you can easily just go select C as the right option. Alright, let's see about next question now. The writer was surprised because the blind woman A. drew a circle on her own initiative. B. did not understand what a wheel looked like. C. included a symbol representing movement. D. was the first person to use lines of motion. Probably roughly you can make out the answer for this can be in the second paragraph of the passage, because first one, the first question, that means question number 27, you got the answer in first paragraph. Just let's skim the first paragraph and then go to the second paragraph. You may get it. Let's see now. Alright, I want you to roughly skim paragraph number 1. Let's continue to read. But pictures are more than literal representations. The fact was drawn to my attention dramatically when a blind woman in one of my investigations decided on her own initiative to draw a wheel as it was spinning. To show this motion, she traced a curve inside the circle. I was taken aback. Stop here. As I explained in introductory session, you can't expect the same word or phrase to be given in the paragraph as in the question. Rather, there will be synonymous words or some sentence with the same meaning. I was taken aback. That means what the writer is trying to say. He was surprised, and our question is that. The writer was surprised. Why? The writer was surprised because the blind woman, yes, there is a direct answer. She traced a curve inside the circle. And if you look at the options, option C exactly matches. Included a symbol representing movement. And if you may think there is no word or no phrase to represent or indicate movement over here. If you just continue to read, lines of motion such as the one she used. Lines of motion. Motion means it is synonymous with movement. She has used some curve or she has used a line to represent the movement. So the writer was surprised how this blind woman could do this. That's the answer. If you just to clarify that, to eliminate the fourth option, that is option D we have. Let's see, let's continue to read now. Lines of motion such as the one she used are a very recent invention in the history of illustration. Indeed, as art scholar David Kunzel notes, Wilhelm Busch, a trend-setting 19th century cartoonist, used virtually no motion lines in his popular figures until about 1877. Just don't get confused. Read the fourth option once again. Was the first person to use lines of motion. Now, the blind woman is not the first person to use motion, but he says that only recently, means until 1877, lines to represent motion was not used. That means the blind woman is not the one who has used it at the beginning or who used it for the first time. So option C is the right answer, which can match exactly what is there given in the passage. Now let's see about the question number 29. That's our third question. From the experiment described in part 1, the writer found that a blind subjects A. had good understanding of symbols representing movement. B. could control the movement of wheels very accurately. C. worked together well as a group in solving problems. D. got better results than the sighted undergraduates. You can do one more thing to save your time now. Read the question carefully. From the experiment described in part 1. So that means after doing the experiment, you need not in detail read all the experiment what he has done. Probably if you read, it may help you in the next question. However, we can't say that. Now our purpose is to find the answer for question number 27. And the question clearly states, from the experiment described in part 1. So the conclusion or the result of the experiment the writer could make out, it can be only in the final part, not in the middle of the experiment or the beginning of the experiment. So don't waste any more time reading in detail about the experiment. Come to the conclusion of the experiment. You can't expect it to be in the second paragraph because it describes about the experiment. Let's just have a glance now to the passage. I hope that was enough. It's not too short duration, I hope. If you are able to skim the paragraph, you can easily make out paragraphs 2 and 3 describes only about the experiment, what the writer has done, what experiment he has conducted among the blind people. At the end of the 4th paragraph, you get the conclusion of the experiment. Read from these words carefully. This is the point where you need to read in detail. When you come to a specific point where you conclude that you are going to get the answer, read it for detail. So far you are just going to use your skills of only skimming and scanning. Now, evidently, however, the blind not only figured out meanings for each line of motion, but as a group, they generally came up with the same meaning at least as frequently as did sighted subjects. Okay, now we are going to just come to the options once again. They had what the writer could make out. The blind people, they could have a good understanding of symbols representing movement or motion. Now just come, had good understanding of symbols representing movement. This seems to be the answer. However, we need to think about the possibility of other options even being the correct answer. However, you need to even consider about the other options being the possibility of correct answer. You could control the movement of wheels very accurately. Now, there is no information to say about this. Work together well as a group in solving problems. But as a group, they generally came up with the same meaning. As a group in the sense, they have all given the same result. The writer did not say that they all worked together as a group. So this cannot be the answer. Got better results than the sighted undergraduates? No. The writer says that it was almost similar to those of sighted individuals. That means those who can see, those who are not blind. So that means similar results, not better. So the only possible answer is A. Alright. I hope that has given you a rough idea about the task type 1 in IELTS academic reading. The same task type, now I'm going to give you a different example which contains some diagram. I told you already there may be different parts or different forms of this task type. It may contain diagrams or